My name is Sherman Smith, and I am the running back coach for the Seattle Seahawks. Basically, I was very fortunate from the time that I was a child. I had an opportunity to stand on the shoulders of giants. And I think of the three giants in my life that made a difference for me. And the first story starts with my father. When I was a junior in high school, my father came to me and he asked me what did I want to do when I graduated from high school. And I told him, growing up in Youngstown, Ohio, that I wanted to get a job in the steel mill. I wanted to live in the apartment complex right down the street from our house, which was a projects. And I just wanted to get a nice car. And that's all I really wanted to do. And my father saw that I was kind of underestimating what I was capable of doing. So he says, let's get in the car and we're going to go for a drive. And he said, no, I don't want you to say anything. So what we did, we got in the car and we drove down by that apartment complex, the projects called the Kimmelbrooks. And my father just simply said these words to me. He said, don't buy the lie. Then we went by another one of those housing projects on the east side of Youngstown, and the McGuffey Terrace, and he said, son, don't buy the lie. And as we were driving to the south side of Youngstown, he said one more time as we went by another one of those projects, apartment complexes, he said, son, don't buy the lie. He said, don't buy the lie that this is the only place where you can live. Then we drove out to Boardman, Ohio, Boardman in Youngstown, the vanilla suburbs, what I like to call it, with manicured lawns, 3-car garages. And he said, son, don't buy the lie that you can't live in a neighborhood like this. Then we drove by that steel mill where I wanted to work. And he said, son, don't buy the lie that this is the only place where you can work. He continued to tell me, don't buy the lie that you can't be a teacher, you can't be a doctor, you can't be a lawyer. And even back in 1971, he said, don't buy the lie that one day that you can't be president of the United States. My father saw that I had bought the lie that was being perpetuated by racism that told me that as a black man growing up in America, the only thing that I could hope to do was work in the steel mill, live in the projects, and maybe one day own a nice car. So my father played an important part in my life. So I continued, at the end of my high school career, I was offered a full scholarship to Miami of Ohio. I had an opportunity to go there to be the first African-American quarterback at that college. And I accepted that scholarship. And then it was at that time that the second giant in my life spoke, and that was my mother. We loaded up the car to get ready to go to Oxford, Ohio. Mom couldn't make the trip because the car was all packed up. And then she spoke some words into my life. She said, son, don't be the one. She said, son, there are going to be people there at Miami of Ohio. They're going to say the only reason why you're there is because of affirmative action or because you're on a scholarship. She said, son, don't be the one. She said, son, there are going to be people there that are going to say not only can't you learn, you don't want to learn. She said, son, don't be the one. She said, son, there are going to be people there that are going to say not only can't you get along with others, you can't even get along with your own people. She said, son, don't be the one. She said, don't be the one that they're talking about when they make that statement. She told me that I could validate negative stereotypes or I could tear them down. She said I could make things better for those coming behind me or I can make things worse. So my mom was teaching me right then the responsibility that I had with the privilege that I had of being able to go to that school. And so I always remember that along with the privileges that you have comes responsibility. And that made a difference in how I went about my work at school, how I carried myself in public. And little did I know that 27 years later that my son would attend Miami of Ohio, who has the same name, and people would remember. And I think that I made things a little bit better for him when he went back there. But it was in 1976 when I ran into the third giant in my life who made a difference in my life. And that was a guy by the name of Ken Hutcherson. And Ken had suffered a knee injury in our last preseason game, the first season of the Seattle Seahawks in 1976. And I went into Ken and I wanted to encourage him the way he had encouraged me in practice. I wanted to be a friend to him the way he had been to me because this injury had ended his career. And as I went in that locker room, everyone was around him talking to him, and I was the final guy to get to him. And Ken was sitting there on the table with ice packs on his knee with a big smile on his face. And he was telling me about how excited he was to see what God had planned for his life. And he just said, Sherm, I'm a Christian. You don't know, man. Nothing happens in my life that's not filtered through God's hands first. And then finally Hutch said something to me. My dad said, don't buy the lie. Mom said, don't be the one. And Hutch told me, don't be a fool. He said, Sherm, for the Bible says that only the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. And he shared with me the gospel of Jesus Christ and told me about how you can make a difference and how Christ can make a difference in my life. And for me, I think it was those three giants that spoke into my lives as my dad talked to me about dreaming big, Mom talked to me about the responsibility, and Hutch told me about how even though my faith life is personal, that it's not private and that it can make a difference. And for me, that is really the story that propels my life.